As the Viking Age moved closer to its final century, the world around them began to change. New kingdoms rose across Europe, building stronger armies, taller walls, and better defenses. The Vikings, once unmatched on land and sea, now found themselves facing nations who had learned from their attacks. This wasn't the wild, open world their ancestors sailed into. This was a world preparing for them. Would they remain raiders or became something greater? As raiding grew harder, many Vikings settled permanently in the lands they once attacked. In England, they built towns, farms, and entire communities. In France, they carved out new territory, Normandy. In the East, they became rulers known as the Rus. Slowly, the Vikings were transformed from wandering warriors to kings, nobles, and traders. A new identity was forming, one shaped not only by the axe but by leadership, diplomacy, and vision. Even as Europe strengthened, the Viking spirit of exploration refused to die. From Iceland, Eric the Red pushed further west until he reached to a frozen, untouched land, Greenland, and his son, Leif Erikson, went behind that, becoming the first known European to step foot in North America centuries before Columbus, but they were also greatest explorers of their time, pushing into oceans no one dared to cross. Generation passed, and the image of fierce Viking raider slowly faded. Children of former warriors grew up farms instead of ships. They traded more than they fought. They built churches which where their ancestors built long houses. The world was changing, and the Vikings changed with it. The spirit of war that fueled the early raids began to dim, replaced by families, business, and diplomacy. The axe became a symbol, not a lifestyle. But the Viking Age would not end quietly. In the year 1066, a final spark reignited the fire. King Harald Hardrada of Norway, one of the last true Viking warriors, sailed to England with hundreds of ships. He dreamed of winning a crown through battle, just like his ancestors, but at the Battle of Stamford Bridge, he fell, and with him, the last great Viking invasion, historians say. When Harald died, the Viking Age died with him. After 1066, Europe continued to grow stronger and more unified. Nations formed armies, laws, and political systems. What once seemed like easy targets were now protected by stone, castles, and trained forces. The time of small bands of warriors changing the world was ending. The future belonged to kingdoms, not traders, and slowly the Vikings realized that their era had passed. Instead of disappearing, the Vikings blended into the world they once shook. In England, their descendants became part of British people. In France, Viking settlers became the famous Normans who later conquered England in 1066. In Russia, Vikings rules found dynasties that shaped Eastern Europe. The Vikings' bloodline didn't vanish, it became the foundation of new nations. The Viking Age ended, but their culture never truly ended. Their stories, their sagas, became some of the most powerful pieces of literature ever written. Their ships influenced naval engineering for centuries. Their symbols, like walnut and the raven and the longship, still inspire art and film today. Their gods, Odin, Thor, Loki, live in our books, movies, even the days of week. The Vikings left his world long ago, but their legacies stand longer than ever. By the 12th century, the Vikings' world had fully transformed. By the longhouses became towns, the raiders became merchants, the warriors became kings and rulers, and the restless spirit of North became the identity of proud nations like Norway, Denmark, Sweden, and Iceland. The age of Vikings raids ended, but the age of Viking influence had only begun. And so, the story of the Vikings comes to a close not with a single battle, not with a final voyage, but with transformation. They began as raiders, became explorers, grew into kings, and ended as the ancestors of nations. Their age of fire lasted only a few centuries because their impact will echo for thousands of years, because they were dreamers, builders, and fearless seekers of unknown, and their legacy will forever remind the world courage can shape history.